Look at the chapter 17, verse 1. My breath is corrupt. Now, let me ask you something. Is it his breath? When God breathed into the nostrils of Adam and he became a living soul, whose breath was it? And then we went through that whole study when we were in Genesis and we are looking at the different breaths, and we realized that breath is God's breath. Every breath you take in and out, that's God's breath. And it ain't his breath. See, that's the first thing he messed up. He said, my breath is corrupt. Now, we won't even get to the part of corrupt yet, but he said, my breath. Now, I want you to look back in Job chapter 9, and I'm just showing you God's so gracious. Job says a little something back here in chapter 9, and God just says, okay, yeah. And then Job says something else in chapter 17, and God says, yeah, okay. And then a little bit later on, Job says something in chapter 19, and God says, oh, yeah, that's good, that's good. And then he lets you go on down the road a little bit. Job chapter 27, he says something else, and the Lord goes, yeah, you're getting close now. You're getting there now. But look back there in Job chapter 9, verse 18. Now, this is one of the first responses that we have when God pulls you off a mountain or knocks you off of your pedestal, whatever pedestal it was, when life is no longer as comfortable and predictable as it used to be, and all of a sudden your world got knocked out and you completely lost and don't know where you're at. This is our first reaction that we have. Now look at chapter 9, verse 18. He will not suffer me to take my breath. This is my breath, and he's not going to let me do what I want with my own breath. Why can't I have a control over what I want to do? If I want to take my breath, but he filled me with bitterness. This is all his fault. He's not even going to let me kill myself. Isn't that it? I quit. Isn't that how we get? You're going to do this to me? Who do you think you are? You won't even let me take my breath? You know how gracious God is? He doesn't say nothing. He doesn't correct him on it. And then you get in here, chapter 17, verse 1, Job says, my breath is corrupt. My days are extinct. Wait a minute, Job. First of all, it's not your breath. And what are you doing calling your breath corrupt? It's God's breath, and you're calling it corrupt. And maybe you're looking at it corruptly. And my days are extinct? Job, who qualified you to make such a statement? What he's saying here, my days are extinct. The graves are ready for me. Really, Job? You know how many years you're going to live, Job? You might be 70 right now and you think your days are extinct, but you're going to live another 140 years after you get done with this trial. As a matter of fact, you know what you're going to have? You're going to have twice as many cattle. Everything you got, God's going to double it. But I'll tell you, that's how we are, aren't we? Just limited in what we can see. And we don't trust God. We don't just let him have his way. A lot of times God doesn't come in and disrupt your life and take you to a higher mountain because he's not going to force you to do it. And he's not going to want to drag you all the way kicking and screaming and getting mad at him and quit.